Hi guys, welcome back. So today we're doing one of the very first modifications to our Mark 8 Golf R. But before we jump into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, also notification bell, then you won't miss any of our new videos go live. So in the last video we spoke about handling upgrades. Obviously power-wise you can't really do much to these cars at the moment, so we're going to start upgrading the suspension and improving the aesthetic of the vehicle as well. So I'm going to be installing some suspension on this car. We did originally plan to have some wheels and tyres coming, but unfortunately they're not ready for this particular video, so they're going to be another couple of weeks. So we're going to go ahead anyway and get the suspension fitted, and we're going to compare the ride height standard afterwards, and then driving impressions before and after as well. So in a second, join me in the workshop and we'll talk you through the kit that we're installing on this car. Okay, so we've got the Mark 8 Golf R on the ramps behind us, and as you can see, we've removed the factory suspension from the vehicle, and we've got our upgrade here in front of us. So just going to talk you through some of the components. So on my left, you've got the factory rear damper, the factory top mount dust boot, the factory front damper with the dust boot, top mount and the bearing, as well as the rear spring and the front spring which goes over the damper. So obviously you're upgrading the suspension. The particular kit we've gone for is the BILSTEIN EVO S kit. So this kit is a new kit from BILSTEIN, and it's essentially a coilover kit with ride height adjustment. Now it doesn't have any damping adjustment. In the future we might look to go for damping adjustment, but for now we just wanted sort of like a mild upgrade for road use, as we're predominantly going to be using this car on the road, and we want to give you guys sort of like a review of this on the road before we then go sort of like the whole hog for something that's going to be more optimized towards track use. So the BILSTEIN EVO S kit basically optimized like damping for like a compromise between sort of like road comfort and a nice improvement of handling on the road as well. So it's not going to be uncomfortable on like long road trips and things like that. Obviously we'll test that out with like the driving later on in the video. What it does add is obviously the coilover adjustment. So you've got the threaded coilover body on the front, then you've got an adjustable spring perch on the rear, which these rear springs go onto. So then you can set the ride height to what you like. So obviously if you just install some aftermarket lowering springs, and what you do is reduce the ride height, and that is just what you get. Whereas with the BILSTEIN kit, you get an improvement in handling whilst retaining comfort, and then also they have the adjustable ride height as well, so you can get it just where you want. Obviously if you go for lowering springs, then you're lowering the effective range of the factory dampers, so you're compromising sort of like ride quality and also performance as well, because you're shortening the damper stroke to where it's not meant to be shortened to. So yeah, we're going to get this kit fitted to the car now. We've got players tomorrow, so the track day on Saturday, so we'll be taking it out on track. Unfortunately the wheels haven't arrived with the upgraded tyres, so obviously we're going to be testing out this car with a factory wheel and tyre setup with the EVO S suspension, which is kind of what it was designed for anyway. This suspension isn't designed for sort of like motorsport wheels, motorsport tyres, anything like that. So obviously when we do install those wheels and tyres, we'll be upgrading the suspension again. But for now, this is perfect for what we need to use it for. So yeah, we're going to get this fitted, do the track day, do some driving impressions on the road, and then at the track as well. So see you a little bit later on in the video. So we've got the BILSTEIN EVO S coilover kit fitted to the Golf R. We've got it aligned, ready for the first sort of like road test now. We've got the ride height set to just how I like. So if you come around to the side of the car, we've dropped the ride height by about 35 mil front and rear, just to reduce that arch gap down without going too low. Obviously we're going to be using it quite a bit on the road, and also we've got a track day tomorrow, so we don't want to be running out of movement, obviously hitting the arches, stuff like that. So yeah, really happy with how it looks. So now we're just going to have a first drive. I'm driving it to Goodwood. We're just going to set up for the players show where we have a display. And then tomorrow, obviously, because we're at Goodwood, we're going to do a track day in it as well. We don't really have the tyres and wheel set up for the track day, but we're going to give it a go and see what it's like, and obviously see how this suspension is on the road and then also on the track as well. Being an EVO S kit, it's not optimized towards track use, but obviously we'll give it a go and see what it's like, give you feedback. Maybe we'll fit some wheel spacers just to space the wheels out into the arches before we upgrade the wheels and tyres. If you want us to fit spacers to it, then let us know in the comments and we'll get that done before we put the wheels and tyres on it. So see you in a second. So here we go, first drive of EVO S suspension from BILSTEIN. So we're on our way up to Players Classic Goodwood. We've gone a little bit more of the scenic route today as opposed to going on the motorway, so we can give you our feedback before we try the car out on track. But I mean, immediately sort of like pulling out of the car park and driving it a little bit, the thing that's quite impressive is that the ride quality hasn't really reduced at all, if any. It's sort of like a negligible difference really. Obviously we've got a nice amount of lowering, so you would kind of expect that the ride quality might have gone down a little bit, especially with sort of like a supposed improvement in handling as well. But I would say the ride quality, especially on these super bumpy sort of like back roads with plenty of potholes, hasn't really gone down at all, if any. I can't really tell the difference, to be honest. In terms of sort of like handling, it does seem as though the handling has improved. Obviously the standard Golf R did handle pretty well, and also did ride reasonably well as well, considering how well it did handle. So I mean, immediately when you're sort of like turning into the corners, even sort of like gently to turning in quite aggressively, you can feel that the suspension is a bit firmer. So what that means is that basically when you begin to turn in, you can feel as though the suspension is supporting the vehicle a lot better, so it's rolling a lot less as well. But again, it's rolling a lot less, but there's no sort of like detriment to the ride quality here as well, which is quite impressive. So I mean, if you're the kind of person who just drives your car sort of like on the road, doesn't do sort of like much track driving, this might be the best sort of like suspension setup for yourself. Let's have a look, see if there's any cars here. No cars. So this is a hella bumpy road, this one. As you can see, absolutely fine. I think one of the things that I'm impressed the most about the suspension is that you really can have your cake and eat it. You can have a nice improvement in sort of like road holding, nice improvement in the aesthetic, whilst also keeping the ride quality as well. And that's always one of the things that is a little bit nerve-wracking about going for an aftermarket suspension, is the majority of them are artificially harsh, or harsher than what is necessary to give the driver a feeling of a sports suspension, when really a sports suspension isn't necessarily harsh or anything like that, because don't forget, the job of a suspension is to keep the sort of like tyre in contact with the tarmac for as long as possible, or as much time as possible. And if obviously the wheel is skating over the road and things like that, then it's not really doing its job as a suspension. But you can really feel the BILSTEIN EVO S doing its job quite nicely. So we're going down some of the back roads now. I'll be really interested to see how this performs on track, because it's a tangible improvement on the road, as we've got a dude cutting his lawn. As I was saying, it'd be really interesting to see just how this suspension handles on track, because for fast road use and sort of like B roads and A roads and stuff like that, it seems to be sort of like the perfect suspension as we come across a horse. never?
Yeah.
Well, let me show you around, my friend. So guys, this is Dom. He's had the unfortunate opportunity to come out this afternoon with me in the Golf R, give you my thoughts. So Dom is performance specialist for Regal Autosport, so if you contact us on like Facebook, Instagram, call us, anything like that, most likely you're going to get in contact with him. So I'm going to do a couple of laps of Goodwood. Obviously the only change we've made is like the Evo S's from the last track day, which was at Brands Hatch. Obviously the tyres aren't really optimised for this sort of use. We're going to see how well it goes around anyway. So I've done a few sessions this afternoon, and as you can probably hear, the tyres are absolutely right. So I mean, even still, as an essentially standard car with BILSTEIN EVO S's, it's still really, really good round track. EVO S's initial impressions, obviously the ride height, I think it looks absolutely sick with the slightly lowered ride height. And then it's definitely improved the driving experience of the car around the circuit. The car wants to roll a lot less, and then you can load the car up a bit more quickly going around the corners, which is really nice. So you can sort of get to it immediately rather than having to be super patient with the weight of the car. Obviously tyres are always going to be quite a weak point with this car, obviously still on like the Bridgestones at the moment, so obviously going to be upgraded to the Cup 2s very soon, and then some wheels as well, so they should be arriving next week. They were meant to come for this track day, but unfortunately they didn't. So I mean, in terms of brakes, the brakes are still way better than a Mark 7 Golf R. They're coming to sort of like the end of their life as we're starting to push on, and I think certainly by the time we upgrade the tyres, by the time we upgrade the tyres, I think the brakes are definitely going to be in sort of like a world of hurt and way beyond where they're meant to be. So I think even today we're probably going to have to upgrade the tyres before we go to the next track day. So as you can probably hear, the front end is absolutely dying at the moment. And as we've done more and more sessions today, the gearbox is starting to feel a little bit sort of like clunky through the gear changes, a little bit sort of like lumpy as it's going up through the gears, so maybe we need to start doing some DSG software to improve that. But other than that, the Golf R is pretty good, so I'm going to shut up for a little bit and we'll do a couple of quickish laps. As the car thinks we've had a crash. What do you reckon then, Dom?
You know what? It's quicker than I thought it'd be, to be honest. I've never been on this track, so I didn't realise like how much speed you could carry through certain turns and everything.
Yeah.
I haven't really glanced over the speedo, but I think I saw like 130 something at some point.
Yeah, around the back here we're going about 130 through the apex, and then up to about 140 before we start braking.
But yeah, seeing in the car, like before the BILSTEINs went on, and now you can definitely feel. Yeah, you can definitely feel. I don't know what it was like before, but you can definitely feel the tyres need to go on again. Well, newer tyres need to go on, or upgraded tyres need to go on. But you can definitely feel the BILSTEINs doing their job and keeping the car sort of level.
Yeah. It's interesting you feel that from the passenger seat as well, which is nice. I think the next step as well is to go for change the alignment a little bit, because the car is quite understeery. It's quite hard to provoke it to sort of like turn as well. And I mean, we rarely see anything on track, like nothing's come past us. So it's like, oh, where is everyone?
A minute ago I looked in the side mirror just to see if there was anything. You know.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
But obviously this track being a lot of right-handers, you can definitely feel, you know, on being in the passenger anyways, you can definitely feel the BILSTEINs, doing what they need to do. And to be honest, it feels like on the way here, even like driving here on the road, it didn't actually feel, you know, you wouldn't be able to tell, you know, unless you knew that BILSTEINs were on, you know, an actual coilover kit was on the car. Yeah, it was obviously, what was it? There was three of us up in the Golf R last night, going through some backcountry roads, and yeah, just having a good time. Nice and comfy, like no one was getting thrown out the window, anything like that.
go through that.
It's just quite a nifty little track.
Dude, it's fast.
Yeah, I did not, I knew, obviously standing over by the pits, I didn't know how long, how the track was, but I think I see you come around like once every minute, or what feels like a minute, and I'm thinking, I know it's a short track, but yeah, you carry a lot of speed throughout the whole thing and brake, I don't know, like 2 or 3 times in the whole thing.
That gear change starting to get a bit clunky.
But it's insane how yeah, the only modification to this car is some coilovers, but it's insane how good it is for a stock car,
bro,
around track.
Imagine once we get the race suspension on this and tyres and wheels, it is going to be crazy.
I haven't driven on track too much, but I feel like most tracks aren't, most tracks in the UK aren't too long. But I feel like this could be enough power. Like, it could be enough power for most tracks.
Yeah, I don't think you really need much more power, because you can add more power. You'll be putting more energy through the brakes, all that kind of stuff. We're still getting up to about 140 at the end of the straights and stuff, which is enough, really. I think the name of the game is go faster into, through, and out of the corners with handling rather than. That's the that's fuel in the red now. So the car just started to hesitate. So I think we'll close off the video of that. So yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed that little tour around Goodwood. Unfortunately, we run out of fuel now, so we have to call it a day. And I think the car is probably going to be quite thankful about that. Okay, so it's the Monday after players. Obviously we were meant to get the wheels and tyres fitted before players, but unfortunately they didn't arrive, and they've just arrived this morning, so we thought we've got the BILSTEIN EVO S suspension fitted, we've lowered it, we've got the ride height just where we want, and why not in the same video obviously get the wheels and tyres. Obviously we're not going to be able to do sort of like a proper road test. Obviously Cup 2 is going to be way better than the Bridgestone tyres, and hopefully with lightweight wheels obviously improve the driving dynamics anyway. But yeah, let's walk you through what wheels we've got, and then yeah, so we've gone for some ATS race lights. So for those of you who followed the other Mark 7 Golf R build, ran ATS race lights in a 18 by 8.5, a 38 offset with a 245 40 18 Nankang AR1 track tyre. So for this one, ATS don't make them in 18s anymore, so we've gone for a 19 8.5, same offset, so 38. This time around gone for a 235 35 19 Cup 2. So I think the difference in circumference is only like a couple of percent, so we tried to get the circumference as close as possible to the OEM wheel. Obviously if you can keep the circumference as close as possible, and obviously that means that the speed is going to be hopefully just as accurate as before. It's going to keep the ABS system happy, it's going to keep the traction control system, all those other things happy. So yeah, gone for the silver as well. Obviously could have gone black, but I think because the Golf R runs like a lot of like silver mirrors, all that kind of stuff, it looks a bit better with silver. Obviously it's entirely down to personal preference, but let's see what these might look like. Obviously having just done Players Show, the factory Bridgestones, the outside edge of the tyres absolutely destroyed. So really need to get these fitted. So let's just line them up and see what they might look like. I think that's going to look absolutely sick. Cool. So the next thing we're going to do as well is obviously we're going to be running these quite a lot on track. So it's going to be generating quite a lot of heat, obviously, like through the brakes and stuff like that. And a really common thing to come off are the wheel weights. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some silver heat reflective tape on there in a minute to basically reflect some of the heat back off from it into the brakes, as opposed to just being absorbed. And that should hopefully keep the wheel weights intact with the wheel and keep them balanced. There's a problem that a lot of people have on track, is that these just come flying off and they have vibrations. Obviously it's not particularly fun, and whilst the wheels aren't fitted to the car, we can literally just do this in it's like a 5-minute job. in total. So yeah, just going to get that put on quick, and then we'll get the car in the workshop and put these on the car. Okay, and we're also going to weigh the factory wheels and tyres versus the Cup 2s and ATS race lights. So here we go. So the Cup 2s with the ATS race lights come in at 21 kilos and 380 grams at each corner. And then hopefully we're lighter than the original wheels and tyres. But I mean, factory wheels and tyres are pretty light, and bearing in mind we've got an inch wider, an inch more diameter, and a bit more tyre as well. So let's see what we got. Then the factory wheels and tyres are actually 19 kilos and 860 grams. So the factory wheels and tyres are actually a little bit lighter than the wheels we've upgraded with. Obviously we've gone more diameter, more width, and also more tyre as well. So that's the trade-off basically for a couple of kilos of weight per corner. So obviously we'll see what it feels like. I'm probably not going to notice 2 kilos per corner, but we'll see. So there we have it, the ATS race lights and the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s are fitted to our Project Golf R. I'm super happy with the way it looks. So just to get out for a little road test, doesn't seem to rub at the moment. Obviously with the rubber being brand new, there's not a lot of grip, so I can't really load the car up a lot to test what it's like fully under load, but lock to lock, it's all good. But yeah, super happy with the look. Haven't even had to adjust the ride height as of yet. This isn't completely flat, but if you go onto somewhere where it is flat, then it's a nice sort of like nice equal arch gap front to back. I don't want to make it too low because, like I say, I do use it on track quite a lot. I do drive it on the roads quite a lot as well, so I don't want to make it unusable. And also if you lower it too much, then the roll sensor is going to be such that when you enter a corner, the car's already rolling, so it's going to exacerbate the amount that's rolling anyway. So for performance use, you don't want to have the car too low. But yeah, super happy with this. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. Let us know what you think of it in the comments, and let us know what you would like to see us do with the car next. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch other videos of ours that YouTube thinks you'll like, then click up here. If you'd like to watch some other videos that we have in the same playlist, then click here. And obviously if you enjoyed the video, then we really appreciate if you gave us a subscription. And then obviously you'll be updated when other videos of ours go live, and you can do that quite easily by clicking here. Hope to see you soon.